gradual and very stuttered with improving, so he'd have real plateaus where we just wouldn't get anything. We had to go over to a private speech therapist to try and get him that extra support that he needed. As I'd said to you before, he refused to speak when one of his speech therapists would come into the room, so we had to find somebody that he liked, which was fun and expensive. No chocolate bars for me. I was excited about the future, about what we could do, because he developed this little bit where we're like, yes, we're going to do this, we're going to be really good. You know, there's no worries here, let's just get on with it. And then there was the little issue of anxiety, and that was separation anxiety, and I think that was because he went full time, and I was his crutch, I was his speaker, where other people couldn't understand his speech. I could understand everything, I can translate everything, even if it's not actually what he was saying, it's near enough. So it was, I think that was partly that reason. We still haven't got to the bottom of it, it's still a little bit like it now. He has a very important job of logging the computer on, so he has to go and do that before anybody else gets near the computer, so it kind of distracts him when I run. Key thing I found throughout this, the things that sprang to mind when I first started looking at doing this, was the little things. Little things, that the lollipop lady, she'd always wait that little bit longer, and she'd never push him, she'd never say, oh, there's a car or anything like that. Often she'd do that sort of chatter with children that like to run across the road and what have you, but with him, she was always just like, how are you? And make sure he stopped to say hello and that. So it wasn't an issue about getting across. That's just a little thing. It's a tiny thing. She's not even really connected with the school. She's the council lollipop lady. I'm not sure that's PC now, is it? You're allowed to say lollipop. Teaching assistant has just been a teacher. She's just been fantastic. She's just been there. You can't say anything else. Mrs. Rose, although Tristan's adamant that she's got to be Miss Rose. I'm not sure why he's decided that. But yeah, she's just taken it all on board, pretty much like the teacher. And then Mrs. Ganella. Now Mrs. Ganella she's a teaching assistant. She just sits with him at lunchtime. Now the key thing was, Tristan he used to choke quite badly. And it wasn't until he was 3.5 before I'd eat solids, because he'd just choke. And I tried telling the school this, and they didn't take it on board. They didn't, they're just, Tristan's normal, he's getting on fine. This is where I say, I felt like I was banging my head against a brick wall sometimes. And she just happened to be walking across the road with me one day into school, and she said, I sit next to Tristan at lunchtime, And I was like, oh really? I said, how is he? Does he choke at all? Is he happy about eating? And she said, oh, he doesn't seem to tend to eat much. And I said, well, he used to choke. And she just stopped and she said, right, what can I do? And she was fantastic, and she listened to me she was late for school. Tristan was late for school, but she listened to me. She didn't care about the time. It was key for her to support Tristan, to encourage him to be able to eat. So that was lovely. And that's what I mean by the little things. They make up for so much. Statementing. Right. We decided at this point, because they didn't see, there was a lack of understanding, communication wasn't very good, limited. It was just really, they weren't really keen. I keep saying to you about the fact that they thought, because he was progressing, it was okay. So we tried to push for it. And in the end, I remember going into a meeting, I think it's here, that the meeting's progressed, and I got lots of parties involved, because I remember sitting in a meeting and saying, I will fight for my son. I shouldn't have to fight you. I didn't expect to fight you, but I will. And that was a key moment for me, because I never expected to get in that position. And what is key for me to make sure people know, that wasn't the school, that wasn't the teacher. The teacher was fantastic. I love the teachers. I have to get that across, they were fantastic. It was the Senko. And I really, really struggled with it. And I've got a little report here for you guys to actually look at. And she's written down the guidelines. None of it actually gets done. And I just really struggled with her, but thankfully, like I say, the teachers were fantastic. So I got my mum involved because she's experienced as a teacher. She's experienced teaching a child with hemiplegia, and she knows Tristan. Why not get her involved? I needed her there. Psychologist. We still haven't actually been in touch with her, but we've written off to say we want to be assessed to help with statementing in the future. But since this IEP, they've actually said that they're doing statementing. I didn't know this. I've never seen my IEP, so just ask for IEPs. And then there was Sue Gibbons, who is a counsellor. Apparently, she said every council has to employ a parent partnership support worker. I think that was her technical name. Basically, she knows the technicalities of what should happen, statementing, everything like that. So she's key if you wanted to go down that route. She said to me, I don't think at this moment he needs to be statemented, but I think they need to step up what they're doing, which was fantastic because it meant, oh well, maybe I am pushing a little bit too much, but at least I know that they're not doing everything they could be doing. She's a lifesaver. Lifesaver is what she was. Early years intervention, this is the meetings. This is all part of the meeting, so it's early years action plus, early years intervention, it's all grouped in the same thing. And this is where they should have told me. It's the impact within school, there to provide the best chance for the children, should be in place if considering a statement, first step, if you like. And again, why wasn't this made clear to me? It was really hard knowing that this had been in place, but it wasn't as effective as it could have been because I didn't know it was in place. Maybe it was just me, I hadn't paid enough attention. I am a bit like that. We switch off after a while, don't we? Minutes. Minutes from a meeting. I went to a meeting. I'm still I find it quite difficult to think back to these minutes, but I went to a meeting and I tried to get it across to them just exactly what we needed. This was prior to my mum getting involved, and this is why I got my mum involved and the parent partnership worker. They sent some minutes out from a meeting and they quoted me on things I hadn't actually said. So they said I stated he has OCD and there were quote marks around it, and I never said that. I said it's almost like he's got OCD in the way that if he gets stressed, he likes to clean and he has to be perfect, and if you stop him and then it's just breakdown. I never said he has OCD. And then there's also, she put at the end, which was key to me, because I like to think I'm quite a strong person, and I'm not joking when I said I will fight for my son, and I was quite intense when I said that. I'm a strong person, and she said at the bottom, Mum feels she needs extra support as she's finding this extremely difficult. And I thought, that's really unfair, because I'm not struggling with this. I'm struggling with you, but I'm not struggling with it. This is the same guy that did the minutes, so I had to make that clear. So I just found that really, it upset me. It hurt me. No more than upset me, it hurt me. And I didn't quite go, I'm not brave enough to go ahead and say, well, you're wrong. So I made that mistake in a way. So I just wanted to say about the minutes. If you don't receive them, ask for them, because until then, I had very few minutes. Check them, because you might skim through them, but check them, because they can put things in. If incorrect, notify someone. I should have done that. I did in the end. Well, my husband did. I said, sign it from you. Keep them and say thank you, because after the last minutes I got, they were fantastic. They were absolutely brilliant. They were written by somebody else. They put everything in there that needed to be put in there. And I just said, I want to thank you so much. And they were just like, oh, she's happy then. So I was just really, that was a fantastic meeting. I love that meeting. Primary school pack. Here you go, HemiHelp. Bit of retail. I found a lot that they didn't really have much knowledge. So I got them the HemiHelp pack. And because she said, oh, we'll get it, let me know where you want it, where it needs to come from. Didn't hear from them. So I just thought, right, I'll get it and put a receipt on the table. Got it, put a receipt on the table. And the teacher just said, there's so much there. I've done so much research. She said, but there's so much here. And that was really well received. And it took a weight off me because where I was having to tell them everything, that meant I could just tell them about Tristan's side of it rather than the whole hemiplegia side of it. Where we are now is coming on in leaps and bounds. He's got extra support, which miraculously happened after I got everybody involved. The last meeting, like I said, was fantastic. Sue is there to support us whenever we need. Relationship with the school is getting better, even the head teacher's, fantastic. Relationship with Senko, haven't seen him for a while. But I'm working on that myself, is to just distance myself in some respects from that. But as it goes, she's actually now doing what we need. She's giving us that extra that we need. So relationships there are getting better. What would I do differently? I think I would have pushed them a bit more to prepare because I felt that I wasn't confident enough that I knew. I wish I'd known that I was right, as I always am, And then I could have just said to them, look, you really need to take note of this. Held back a little in the meetings. Those minutes were because I thought they needed to know everything. That was my mistake. I wish I'd kind of held back on my emotions a bit. I didn't get over emotional. I just kind of said to them, do you realise how this affects him, how this happens at home? It's not just, he comes home from school and he's absolutely shattered. I just wish I'd maybe gone through Sue and been less confident. Now that's not about being confident. That was about me being confident prior to coming in, that I knew everything about hemiplegia and how it could affect him and that everything would be fine. I wish in a way I'd been a bit more, just ready to look at the situation as it came. I mean, he is going to be fine, he's great. But I've spoken to his teacher and his Senko and asked them to give a little bit of information on how they experience the transition. Now, I understand we probably haven't got enough time. About 2 minutes. I'll read out, I don't need to read out the Senko, because that's, like I said, that's just guidelines, not exactly what happens. But the teacher, I think that's key really. She says here that she read through Tristan's school file because he was already in nursery by the time she got hold of any information about him. She says here how she read up on information, she looked at how she could help with the physical side of things. She states that he was very reluctant to interact with her, wouldn't even look at her sideways, but thankfully that's not the case now, is what she says here with an exclamation mark. And she just says it's all about preparation and knowledge, which is, I think, is key. I think that's what I've found is key. Like, as soon as I got hold of Sue, I was just like, I know what I'm talking about. Kind of. But I can let you guys, you can have a read through them at your own leisure, especially with us having lunch. It's most important, take. Again, it's Tristan. Tristan is the key. He's the one in the middle that I often remind them about. It's not just hemiplegia. Knowledge is, can't say that enough. Keep calm. I said about the meetings, I wish I'd been a bit calmer. Trusting the teacher, because where the Senko may not have been doing everything she could, the teacher was. So that was key. That's key for us. Working together has been key, and knowing that I am right and no one, and that is fact, because he's my son. But no, I've just been a bit more relaxed about it, a bit more open to listening to other people and giving a little bit, because it's still losing. I'm not seeing him all the way through the week, and he's coming home and he's going straight to bed. But yes, so that's everything from me. Just take what you can from it. Thank you very much for listening.